A blessed good morning to one and all. I'm going to do a video with St. John Parish Church once again, which is situated on a hill overlooking the East Coast. So I will go in the church once again and show you guys the church. Before I go in, this is the history here. First erected in 1645, destroyed by fire in 16. Destroyed by fire and rebuilt in 1676. Destroyed by hurricane and rededicated in 1836. Inside the beautiful Gothic St. John Parish Church. St. John Parish Church is an Anglican church here in St. John, here in Barbados. This is an Anglican church. This is the pulpit that is made out of 6 different types of lovely altar and the beautiful stained glass windows here. See where the choir sits. In memory of Reverend William Leslie, first rector of St. John from 1653 to 1676. Grandson of 5th Laird of King Craigie and great-great-grandson by his grandmother John Leslie, 8th Baron of Balquin. In memory of Alvin Simmons, rector from 1951 to 1962, rector of this church. And Dudley Moore, rector of this church from 1943 to 1950. Canon and Rural Dean, Ed Faithful and White Stewart. Charles G. Clark Hunt, Clement Copan, also rector from 1928 to 1943. Berger from 1879 to 1901. Altar. The pulpit. 6 different types of wood it takes to make up this pulpit. This is the Haynes family, a planter class, who was responsible for the building of this church. In memory of Carlton Haynes, born at Newcastle, St. John, Barbados, on the 7th of February 1858, died at Woodlands, Hampshire, England, on the 20th of November 1945. And his wife Helen Georgina Haynes, born the 30th of June 1860 in South Africa and died in London on the 9th of October 1958. You see how this church is flanked by lovely fluted columns, all made to make one column. In memory of Robert Stuart Fraser, born the 15th of October 1903 and died the 6th of April 1993. They are the parents of Professor Henry Fraser, who was a heart surgeon and a lecturer at university. Robert Fraser was the parochial treasurer of this parish from 1944 to 1959, and his wife Lauren Mitchinson Fraser, born the 17th of July 1911 and died the 26th of October 1994, was mistress of this parish from 1941 to 1960. To love is to serve. St. John is the parish in which most of the white Barbadian population originated. The most noted ones are the same Professor Henry Fraser, Robert Stuart Fraser, and Lauren Mitchinson Fraser's son. They are all white Barbadians from St. John, as well as Sir Kiffin Simpson, the guy who owns Simpson Motors, which is now Inchcape. Sir Kiffin Simpson founded Simpson Motors in 1972. Simpson Motors is the agent for Suzuki vehicles in Barbados. They also specialize in Isuzu, Chevrolet, Mercedes-Benz, and now Mitsubishi and Subaru vehicles. And he also owns the Sol gas stations in Barbados and across the Caribbean. Also, the Goddards that owns Courtesy Garage, which is the agent for Nissan vehicles in Barbados. Courtesy. And he owns they own other businesses as well, such as the Flight Kitchen and the Goodyear Tires and so on. Well, the Goddards are white Barbadians from St. John, as well as Pastor Emeritus for the People's Cathedral, Holmes Williams. First of all, these churches, these pews here used to have to rent these pews years ago to get a seat in this church years ago. In the early times, they had to rent the pews. This is how these Anglican churches were. You can see the pipes for the organ here. These Anglican churches were segregated. Blacks had to sit one place in the back, and the whites sit up front, and the planter class sit up front, and the poor people sit in the back, and so on. So St. John's Parish Church is in the countryside. This is some tombs under our feet. Spiral staircase, and the statue of Madonna and Child of the Infant St. John beneath her feet. And the lovely marble baptismal font. The spiral staircase. So St. John Parish Church overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Caribbean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean on the east coast. So you can see St. Joseph and St. Andrew from here, northeasterly. And St. John, in northeasterly, St. Joseph and St. Andrew, which is the Scotland district of Barbados. So this is the church here. So this is the churchyard here where they bury the people now. They don't bury people in here anymore, except it is a by grave. So this church has some of the oldest graves in the Caribbean and in Barbados. The grave of Iris Bannocky, Silver Crown of Merit, and her mother, Ivory Branch Bradshaw. Iris Branch Bannocky, a white Portuguese Guyanese who lived in Barbados. She was the founder of the Andromeda Botanical Gardens, which is in St. Joseph at Bathsheba. In the 1950s, when she died in 1988, it was entrusted to the Barbados National Trust. The planter class, the black planter class laid to rest here. Dora Skinner, Stanley Skinner, the Chase and Skinner family, basically. And the grave of Ethan Gollop, who is the grandfather of Ralph Tarn, who is the current leader of the opposition, the Democratic Labour Party, and Sir Fred Gollop. He is their grandfather, Ethan Gollop, Ivan Wilfred Weeks, later rest here, and Eric Payne, Canon Eric Llewellyn Payne, rector of St. John from 1968 to 1989. And the grave of Eustace C. Gill, husband of Marie Gill, born 1903 and died in 1993. And Bernard Leslie Barrow, a relative of our first Prime Minister, father of independence and national hero, the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, and Errol Walton Barrow was also a member of Parliament for St. John. Bernard Leslie Barrow and Ambrosine Barrow. These are planter class from St. John. Black planter class. And Charles Miller Austin, the first black man to own a plantation in St. John. And in Barbados, Charles Miller Austin of Malvern Plantation in St. John. The lovely, beautiful East Coast. Ferdinando Paleologus, buried upright. He was descended from the emperor line of the last Christian emperors of Greece, church warden of this parish from 1653 to 1656. 1655 to 1656, and died in October 1678. Thomas Henry Seeley grave here. Southeasterly now towards Bath Beach in St. John and Pot House Village down here. You can see Bath Beach in St. John, which is also on the East Coast. And we can see into St. Philip. You can see all across the Concept Bay and all across to the East Point Lighthouse in St. John and St. Philip. East Point Lighthouse in St. Philip over here. Also the Atlantic Ocean. Barbados is an island nation bordering the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, just off the Eastern Caribbean chain, 166 square miles. The grave of Prime Minister David Thompson, yesterday, the 23rd of October, would have been 15 years that he passed away. The 23rd of October was also my birthday. I was born on the 23rd of October, 1993. David Thompson also passed away on my birthday. He was born on the 25th of December 1961, Christmas Day in England, and then he died in Barbados. He was the Prime Minister. He was born to Barbadian parents, both black Barbadian father and a white Barbadian mother. His mother, Margaret Knight, is still alive. So St. John Parish Church. St. John Parish Church is an Anglican church. The rectory, St. John's Rectory, over there. So back at the church again. Back inside the church once again. Alright, let me leave here now. Looking back at the church. This is the novelty store, the gift store here. Now leaving the church. I want to head down this side today. And back up. This will lead back to St. John's Cemetery and so on. I want to head down this side today. Back at the church. So this is about Clifton Hall and Church View, Newcastle and Martins Bay in St. John. And we'll lead you back to St. Joseph as well, and further on to the East Coast. So this area is known as Clifton Hall in St. John. So this is the beautiful countryside. This is rural Barbados. And I'm to the east of the island. On a hot sunny day, back up. As I said before, St. John is the parish where the white Barbadians originated from. Like Holmes Williams, founder of the People's Cathedral, Sir Charles Ophne Williams, also known as C.O. Williams, because of his initials, Charles Ophne Williams. He is from St. John as well. You can see one of his trucks there from his business, the C.O. Williams Construction Company. That's his business. There's 2 trucks there. This is where the God Hill St. John. Here. And Sir Kiffin Simpson, as I said before, founder of Simpson Motors, and so on. He is a white Barbadian from St. John. And Sir Charles Offney Williams and his brother Ralph Busy Williams as well. And the Goddards and Pastor Holmes Williams and Professor Henry Fraser, who we read about in the church. His mother was the postmistress and his father was the parochial church council. He is a white Barbadian from St. John. Now here we can see all down to Sherborne and Venture and Malvern and St. John, all across here. Straight down Mr. Sherborne, Malvern and Venture, St. John, and this way to Martins Bay, Newcastle, and St. John as well, Martins Bay. You will still find a few white Barbadians, white people at the shop down here in Martins Bay. You will still find them down here. May not be much, but you will still find some down here. This is Clifton Hall, St. John. The white Barbadians are referred to as the Red Legs. Poor whites are Ekibekis. Descendants come from Scotland and Ireland. You can see some of the beach here as well, some of the sea. So this is Clifton Hall, St. John. Church of God of Prophecy here at Clifton Hall, St. John. Yesterday was my birthday, as I said before. Yesterday was my birthday. Had a good birthday. We went to work as usual. I don't really do nothing elaborate for my birthday, like go to peep with anybody or anything, but I thank God for life. It was a good one. Work as usual. I'm back home. Anyhow, Clifton Hall, St. John here. Thank you guys for watching now. You can see the sea from here at Martins Bay. And below here is church view, where I showed you the view from the church. Thanks for watching now. Have a blessed morning.